Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss the new stories we share. Let's begin. The rain had been falling for 3 hours straight when I saw her. I was driving home from a business dinner that had run too long. My driver had called in sick, so I was behind the wheel myself, something I rarely did anymore. The wipers slashed across the windshield in a hypnotic rhythm, and the city lights smeared into wet ribbons of gold and white. I was tired, distracted, ready to crawl into bed and forget another hollow evening of handshakes and profit margins. That is when I noticed movement beneath the old Millbrook overpass. At first, I thought it was trash caught in the wind. But then the shape shifted, and I realized it was a person. A small person. A child, maybe. Huddled against the concrete pillar, knees drawn to her chest. A thin blanket wrapped around her shoulders, like it could protect her from the world. Something in my chest tightened. I pulled the car to the side of the road. My hands gripped the steering wheel as I stared through the rain-streaked glass. Every instinct told me to keep driving. This was not my business. This was not my problem. I had learned long ago that the world was full of suffering I could not fix, no matter how many zeros sat in my bank account. But I could not look away. I stepped out into the rain. The cold hit me immediately, soaking through my expensive coat within seconds. I did not care. My feet carried me toward the overpass, toward the small figure who had not moved, who seemed almost invisible against the gray concrete. She looked up as I approached. Her eyes were wide and dark, filled with the kind of wariness that comes from too many broken promises. Her face was pale, smudged with dirt. She could not have been older than 13 or 14. A child, alone, in the freezing rain. "Hey," I said softly. "Are you okay?" She did not answer. She just watched me like a wounded animal deciding whether to run. I crouched down slowly, keeping my distance. That is when I saw it. On her wrist, half hidden beneath the frayed edge of her sleeve, was a silver bracelet. Delicate, handcrafted, with a small charm shaped like a butterfly, its wings inlaid with tiny blue stones. My heart stopped, the world around me went silent. The rain, the traffic, the distant hum of the city, all of it disappeared. There was only that bracelet, only the memory it carried. I had commissioned that bracelet 12 years ago from a jeweler in Paris. I had placed it on my daughter's wrist the morning of her 7th birthday. I had watched her spin in circles, laughing, holding her arm up to catch the light. 3 months later, she vanished. My daughter, my Lily, gone without a trace. I had searched for her every day since, hired investigators, offered rewards, begged the universe for answers that never came. And now this girl, this stranger huddled beneath a bridge in the rain, was wearing her bracelet. My voice came out broken. "Where did you get that?" She flinched at my words, pulling her wrist instinctively closer to her body. The fear in her eyes sharpened. "Please," I said, softer now. "I am not going to hurt you. I just need to know where you got that bracelet." For a long moment, she said nothing. The rain continued to fall, streaming down my face like tears I had forgotten how to cry. Then finally she spoke. Her voice was small, cracked from disuse. "A woman gave it to me years ago before she died." The words hit me like a physical blow. I had to brace myself against the concrete pillar to keep from falling. A woman before she died. "What woman?" I asked. "What was her name?" The girl shook her head. "She never told me her real name. I called her Mama Rose. She found me when I was little, took care of me until she got sick." My mind was spinning. This was not making sense. This girl was not Lily. She was younger, different. But the bracelet was undeniable. It was unique, one of a kind. I had designed it myself. "How old are you?" I asked. "I think 13, maybe 14. I do not really know. You do not know your own birthday." She shook her head again. "I do not remember much before Mama Rose. She said she found me wandering alone when I was little, maybe 3 or 4. She never knew where I came from." Something cold and terrible began to form in my chest. The timeline fit, the age fit, but so much did not. "Can I see the bracelet?" I asked gently. "Just for a moment. I promise I will give it back." She hesitated, then slowly extended her wrist. I leaned closer, my hands trembling as I examined the delicate silver. There on the inside of the clasp was the inscription I had asked the jeweler to engrave. "For my butterfly, love, Daddy." The world tilted. I sat down hard on the wet ground, not caring about the mud soaking through my clothes. Tears I had held back for 12 years finally broke free. "What is wrong?" the girl asked, her voice uncertain. "Why are you crying?" I could not answer. I could only stare at her face, searching for something familiar, searching for the little girl who used to run into my arms every evening when I came home from work. And then I saw it. Her eyes, dark brown with flecks of gold near the iris, exactly like her mother's, exactly like Lily's. "What is your name?" I whispered. "I do not have one, not a real one. Mama Rose just called me Little Bird." "Little Bird," I repeated, the words catching in my throat. Lily used to flap her arms when she was excited, pretending she could fly. I used to call her my little bird. It could not be. It was impossible, but my heart knew what my mind refused to accept. I brought her home that night. She did not want to come at first. She had every reason to distrust a stranger, especially a man in an expensive car who had appeared out of the rain making strange claims about a bracelet. But the cold was brutal and hunger is a powerful thing. Eventually, she agreed. My housekeeper, Margaret, took one look at us standing in the foyer, dripping water onto the marble floor, and immediately went into motion. Hot soup, warm blankets, clean clothes. She did not ask questions. She had been with me long enough to know when to simply act. I sat in my study while the girl ate, staring at a photograph of Lily that I kept on my desk. Taken the week before she disappeared. She was laughing mid-spin, the butterfly bracelet catching the light on her wrist. The girl in my kitchen was not that girl. She was older, worn by years of hardship I could not imagine. Her cheekbones were sharper. Her hair was darker, but the shape of her face, the curve of her smile when Margaret handed her a second bowl of soup, it stirred something deep inside me. I called my investigator that night. His name was Thomas, and he had worked Lily's case from the beginning. He had never given up, even when the trail went cold, even when everyone else told me to move on. "I need a DNA test," I told him. "Tomorrow morning, as early as possible." "You found something?" "Maybe, I do not know, just get me the test." That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the day Lily disappeared. We had been at a fair. She had wanted to ride the carousel one more time. I had told her no, that we needed to go home. She had pouted, crossed her arms, then suddenly smiled and said, "Okay." But when I turned around to take her hand, she was gone. I searched for hours. The police searched for days. We found nothing. No witnesses, no leads, no body. Just silence and a grief so deep it nearly destroyed me. My wife, Elena, never recovered. She blamed me, and rightfully so. I should have been watching. I should have held her hand. I should have said yes to one more carousel ride. A year after Lily disappeared, Elena left. I could not blame her. I could barely look at myself. I built my empire to fill the emptiness, worked 18-hour days, accumulated wealth I never wanted. None of it mattered. None of it brought Lily back. And now this girl was sleeping in my guest room, wearing my daughter's bracelet, carrying memories of a woman named Mama Rose who had found a wandering child with no past. The coincidences were too painful to dismiss. But hope is a dangerous thing for a man who has been destroyed by loss. I could not survive being wrong. The DNA results came back 3 days later. Thomas called me personally. "It is a match," he said. 99.9% probability. She is your daughter." I dropped the phone. My legs gave out, and I sank to the floor of my study, my back against the wall, my hands covering my face. 12 years. 12 years of searching, praying, bargaining with a God I was not sure I believed in. And she had been out there the whole time. Alive, surviving. I found her in the garden, sitting on a stone bench, watching the birds. She looked peaceful there, almost content, though I knew the peace was fragile. She startled when I approached. "I have something to tell you," I said, sitting beside her. She tensed, the old wariness returning. "You are sending me away." "No," I shook my head. "Never. I am going to tell you something that might be hard to believe, but I need you to listen, okay?" She nodded. Slowly, I took a deep breath. "When you were 7 years old, you disappeared from a fair. Your name was Lily, and I have been looking for you every single day since." Her face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "That bracelet. I had it made for you. The inscription says, 'For my butterfly, love, Daddy.' I gave it to you on your birthday. You used to call yourself a bird because you wanted to fly." Tears began to form in her eyes. That cannot be true. We did a DNA test. The results came back today. You are my daughter." She stood abruptly, backing away. "No, I do not have a father. Mama Rose found me. I was alone. Nobody wanted me." "I wanted you," I said, my voice breaking. "I never stopped wanting you. I never stopped searching. Whoever took you that day, they stole you from me, from your mother, from everyone who loved you." "Then why did it take so long?" she demanded, her voice rising. 12 years, if you look so hard, why did it take 12 years? The question cut deep because I had asked myself the same thing every single day. "I do not know," I admitted. "Whoever took you hid you well, but I never gave up. I could not." She was crying now, her small body shaking with sobs that seemed too large for her frame. I wanted to hold her, but I did not know if she would accept it. I did not know if I had the right. Then slowly she stepped toward me, and then she collapsed into my arms. We stayed like that for a long time, two broken people holding each other in a garden, trying to find our way back from 12 years of separation and pain. She cried for the childhood she lost. I cried for every moment I had missed. Somewhere in that embrace, something began to heal. The weeks that followed were not easy. Trauma does not dissolve overnight. Lily, who still sometimes called herself Little Bird, had nightmares. She struggled to trust that this was real, that I would not disappear like everyone else in her life. Some days she pulled away. Some days she clung to me like I was the only solid thing in the world. We went to therapy together. We talked about Mama Rose, the woman who had raised her with whatever love she could give, even if that love was built on a foundation of kidnapping and lies. We talked about Alina, who had passed away 2 years earlier, never knowing her daughter was still alive. That was the hardest part, knowing Lily would never see her mother again. But slowly, painfully, beautifully, we began to build something new. I taught her about the life she had lost, showed her photographs, told her stories about her first steps, her first words, her obsession with butterflies. She taught me about the life she had lived, the shelters, the streets, the kindness of strangers, and the cruelty of the desperate. She was stronger than I could ever be. She had survived things that would have broken most adults. One evening, as we sat together watching the sunset from the garden, she turned to me with a question. "Why did you stop that night? Under the bridge, you could have kept driving." I thought about it for a moment. "I do not know, something just told me to stop." She was quiet, then said, "Mama Rose used to say that love has a frequency, that when you love someone enough, you can feel them even across miles, even across years." I smiled. Maybe she was right. Lily reached down and touched the bracelet still on her wrist. She had not taken it off once since coming home. "This saved me, you know," she said softly. "Not physically, but inside. Whenever things got really bad, I would look at it and remember that someone somewhere had cared enough to give me something beautiful. I did not know who, but I knew the love was real." Tears welled in my eyes again. "It was always real, sweetheart. It never stopped." She leaned her head against my shoulder. "I know that now." We sat in silence as the sky turned from gold to purple to deep indigo. A butterfly landed on the railing nearby, its wings catching the last of the light. Lily laughed softly. "She found me." I did not ask who she meant. I did not need to. Some things are beyond explanation. All I knew was that after 12 years of darkness, my little bird had come home, and I would spend the rest of my life making sure she never felt lost again. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and visit the channel for more real-life stories.